Junkies.
What's going on, golf addicts? I am back. Your fearless leader is back. I am back from vacation. I am back from time with La Familia, and I'm proud to be here. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited about tonight's show, even though the golf tournament is, it's new, it's fresh. The field is not fantastic, but I'm excited about it, Pat. I gotta say, the Travelers was good to me. It was good to me. I had some green screens. I was listening to you at Gino. I had some Chez Reavie on the deck. Had some Vaughn Taylor who finished like third or fourth. So I had a small return. It's pretty good. We had some listeners out there with some green screens. I got to say, man, great job filling in last week. I mean, you did pretty good. You did F up the only ad read that we had to do. You screwed that one up pretty bad.
That one kind of snuck up on me. I was like, I better do an ad read, and screwed that one up. But
it was great. You and Gino obviously have a ton of chemistry. We've known Gino for a minute. He's just a fantastic dude. So I was excited. I really enjoyed the show. So how did it feel for you? Was it good?
Yeah, it was fun. Gino's just so easy to talk to. I mean, he's just a good dude. He's funny. He's got lots of stories. Didn't give us a whole lot on the course, and he didn't really go out there too much when it came to picks. But he
very
was
non-committal.
Very non-committal. But that's all right. Hopefully, he's more committing on the course to a club. Do you think that he maybe with Joel, he's like, I don't know, I don't really want to commit to this one, Joel. I think
that's a good question. I think he was just nervous. But yeah, he was not very committed to picking golfers last week. I think you could have named, freaking who? I don't know, Zach Suker, and he'd have been like, yeah, that's a great play.
Yeah, it would have turned out too. I should have thrown that name out there.
Yeah, it was funny though. I tell you what, if people didn't stick around for the chunk and run, I had no idea. We've been hanging with Gino for a year now, but I had no idea he was a former college mascot, suited up at basketball games. Pretty awesome.
And got fired from that.
Got fired. Also, a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great stuff, man. Chez winning the Travelers, first time he'd won in nearly 11 years. I'm a fan of Chez. I just am. Anytime a very unfit, dumpy, kind of portly fellow can win a golf tournament. I mean, I know it's got to make people like you proud, but it also makes people like me proud. I'm just a fan of that. And Chez seems like such a great dude. I was glad to see him do it. Ball striker, he's been playing really, really, really well. We'll get to him in a little bit because his price is up there,
Yeah. He throws darts, though. He
throws darts.
You look at he's always up there top 5, top 10 in proximity on tour.
Oh, you love that, don't you?
I love that proximity stat, so that's the reason I know that. But
proximity gets that blood flowing.
And we should have seen it coming, or we did see it coming at the U.S. Open. He was playing well.
You look very golfer boy tonight, Pat. You've got your black Masters polo. You got your big Golby visor, your tour visor that you clamored for.
Yeah.
How many of those we still got in the shop? We got a lot of those in the shop available.
Actually,
don't we?
Don't have as many green ones as we do. We got a few white ones.
Yeah, we got a lot of white ones.
But
yeah,
we got a lot of white ones. Yeah, feeling. What's
the podcast choose tonight?
Little Tito's and some soda.
Okay.
With a little. Actually, it's kind of like a ginger soda with a little splash of grape juice. So it's kind of like a transfusion.
Hold on, ginger soda, splash of grape juice.
Of grape soda. So it's like a transfusion, but without the grape juice. It's grape soda.
Less sugar, maybe.
Less sugar.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. That's good. All right. We call Chez. We like to call Chez the Chesticle. And that's a great name for Chez, and I think goes fittingly with one of our favorite new sponsors, which has been Nutsack. And if you guys haven't heard us talk about Nutsack, you're missing out. It's a perfect bag for a man. It's a man bag, not a man purse. It's kind of a satchel. There's duffels. There's laptop kind of bags if you need to haul your laptop around, like Pat has to protect his We got him a nutsack just to protect his valuables in the computer so that we could do all this technology that we're doing right now. Nutsack.com is where we go to get it. They're the perfect bag for you. They're American-made, high-quality leather. Everything's made in the U.S. American waxed canvas, whatever that means. Water-resistant. They give you a lifetime guarantee. They're rugged. You can beat the crap out of your nutsack bag. And it's just an amazing thing.
Don't do it if you have your computer in there.
Yeah, don't do. I mean, it will protect it, but not that much. You can't
keep your nutsack close to you. Keep it tight.
Yeah. And right now,
you don't want it swinging all around.
Yeah, if it's banging up against
trees and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want
not
that.
Something you want to do with your nutsack.
And right now, they're offering our listeners $5 off. That's just they're basically saying, hey, go have a beer on us. Go have a domestic on us. You know what I mean? You get $5 off your first purchase when you go to nutsack.com. That is NUTSAC. NUTSAC. And don't add the K, okay? And add promo code Tour Junkies. That is promo code Tour Junkies when you order to get that discount. And give them a shot. They're good folks. They are good guys. We've had some good conversations with those guys. Clever guys. And they called it Nutsack because people said they were nuts when they were going to make these new bags. So for all you other folks, just get your mind out of the gutters. You know what I mean? Another hot topic last week, Pat, was the young guys on tour. You had your Victor Hovland, your Matt Wolff, your Colin Morikawa, your Justin Suh. You had these four boys coming out. Now Morikawa had played in a PGA Tour event. Wolff had not. He was making his first as a pro. Actually, a lot of them have played in PGA Tour events, but as a pro. Now, you and Gino talked a little bit about it. You put out a hot tweet on Wednesday, I believe it was. Got a lot of attention.
Yeah, I had a hot take.
I had a hot take. So give me your thoughts on the young boys before we go ahead and get into this course breakdown.
Well, look, I mean, here's the thing. I will, I put out a tweet and I basically said, look, kind of pump the brakes a little bit on playing these guys in their first tournament as a pro. Now, my thoughts are this. These guys could all be studs, and I think they will for the most part. Some of it we'll see, but that's not really what I meant by what I was saying. It's that when you get into your first pro event, not like Victor Hovland playing the Masters, okay? You don't really have a ton of pressure on you there. I mean, you don't have to make any money. Whatever you do is on the upside. You really don't even have to make the cut. Nobody's sitting there thinking Victor Hovland's going to make the cut or perform well or whatever. He puts his own high expectations on himself, but there's not anything else. There's no outside pressures. But these guys, none of them have their card. Okay, let's make sure we get that straight. These guys don't just automatically have their card coming out of college. So they got to make some money. The pressure's on them. And they obviously want their card. They're probably going to end up in Q school or whatever at the end of the year. Who knows, unless they have some fantastic finishes. And I just don't want to play them, especially where I was seeing some of the ownership. I think Victor Hovland was at 15% owned last week. To me, I would fade that. I want to see a little more out of these guys. I do like Victor Hovland. I think he's probably going to be the best out of the four. If you see his strokes gained off the tee stats right now, they're ridiculous. He's leading every event. He led during the U.S. Open. I think he led last week. But he still finished in, T54, somewhere around there. So not what you want out of a guy at 15% owned at his price tag. So I'm just going to fade them for right now if I'm seeing them that highly owned, anywhere from 10 to 15%. Now, you get a guy like Morikawa last week. I thought he was the better play. If I was going to play any of them, it would have been him. He was lower owned. He already played at least one pro event where he had to make some money. So I think that put me on to Morikawa a little bit more. But I don't know. I'm gonna take a wait and see approach with these guys. I'm not going to jump on them right away unless I'm seeing some really low ownership.
Yeah, actually, so we just had someone chime in on YouTube. By the way, we are now broadcasting back live on YouTube, and you can watch this whole thing go down if that interests you at all. And love the interaction here. Josh Hazelwood just said, did you guys see Victor's Hideki-like pause on that one swing, which I actually missed it until today. I saw it floating around today. I've never seen that before. I've never seen that on the PGA Tour where he didn't even pause. He kind of pumped. Did you see it? Are you gonna?
I did see that.
Don't lie. Have you already tried that at home? Have you already gone out into the yard and seen if you could reach back and get a little extra?
I have not tried it. I have not tried it. But you know my golf game. I'm working on the non-Hideki, like not
Yeah, but
you
it
know,
really wasn't
being,
Hideki though. It was kind of a, it was a
it was
pump.
an extra move. Yeah. I don't know.
You should
Now,
try
I
it.
will say this. I've tried drills where I just start at the top and swing and hit it pretty good that way.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe I should do
half
that. You
the
take a
swing you
little bit
can't
of,
screw up.
yeah, exactly.
I liked Morikawa. I tweeted a little screenshot of a text conversation between you and me and Gino from earlier in the week where I said Morikawa was the man. I really like the kid. I like where he's coming from. I like his scoring ability. The guy finished 15th in the field in birdies last week with 17. Also had an eagle. Now he finished T36 with rounds of 66, 67, 75, and 68. Finished at 4 under. He finished the best out of those 4 young guys that we talked about. I like Morikawa a lot, especially, if he can land in some of these West Coast events. I like that a lot. I think he's got the all-around game. Hovland's game was really good off the tee. It was a little suspect from there on in. A lot remains to be seen with Matt Wolff, Justin Suh. Matt Wolff is obviously getting a lot of chatter because of the swing and the distance and GG and all that mess, but I'm like you, man. I'm not buying it yet either. I think it's a little soon to crown these boys. I mean, if you need a lesson, look at Cameron Champ. I mean, Cam Champ came out, and I don't really see this as much different, right? Like Cam Champ finishes the Web.com season last year. I don't even think he won. I don't even think he finished number 1 on the money list Web.com last year. I believe Sung Jae did. But he wasn't even number 1. It's not like he just ran through. I mean, Cam Champ had a lesser season on the Web.com last year than like Scotty Scheffler is having this year. It wasn't super dominant. He just came out to a fall event and was really hot for a couple weeks, came out to a weak field fall event and dominated, but he hit the ball a really, really long way, so everyone gets all excited. Like we'd all just pop to Viagra watching Cam Champ swing the stick. And I get it. Like you could probably check the tape and find that I'm kind of I was excitable about Cam Champ too. Part of it is I saw him in person in Utah. I saw him hit a golf ball in person. It is ridiculous. But, yes, we can look at the top players in the world and think, oh, they're all bombers. But you have, like, the difference in how DJ and how Justin Thomas and how Brooks play through the bag versus a Matt Wolff is just crazy, right? Like, you can't just have that one thing. And it remains to be seen. So I just don't think you jump on these guys at certain price tags, at certain ownerships, at certain odds. Think back if this were the first event of the swing season and they had just graduated the Web.com, would you be that excited? No, you wouldn't. But you're excited because one of them was the best amateur in the world. One of them was the low am at the Masters. They both just a couple of them just got major TV time with the college NCAA finals, and they hit it a long way, and they've got a weird swing, and they're there's all this like stuff that builds up, but don't get sucked in when the price is too high. And I think for Wolff and Hovland, the price has been too high. Morikawa and Suh aren't getting any love. So if you're gonna play any of them, play those guys. And last week if you played Morikawa, it paid off.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And like I'm saying, I don't think you get too excited. I think that a lot of the excitement with Hovland certainly came around what he did at the Masters and what he did at the U.S. Open. And I get it. I'm just saying, you get out here on tour, it's a totally different mindset. There's way more pressure as far as what they have to do to get their card, all that kind of stuff. So I'm with you totally on this. And now, that's not saying these guys won't be studs. I mean, I think Hovland especially, and maybe Wolff. I'm still not sold on Wolff yet. I know he dominated in college. This is obviously not college.
Are you saying Wolff or Wolff?
Wolff.
Okay, there you go. There's an L in there.
Wolff. Either way, I'm not sold on him.
Hold on, Pat. I'm sorry,
swing.
Pat.
Everybody's going to say it's because of the swing. What?
I know you can't see this, but now that we're broadcasting live on YouTube, there's comments that roll in, and you can't see the comments, but I can. Your son Harrison Perry is now watching us live and just said hello.
Tell him to stop watching right now. Harrison, you cannot watch this show, okay?
It's
sometimes not family friendly, okay?
Get off. Go play some Fortnite.
Yeah, go play some Fortnite.
Anyway, yeah. So we're talking a little theory here, right? Little like be careful not to get too excited over certain players. I want to go ahead and preface. We're going to talk a little theory for especially beginners, guys who maybe have just kind of started playing, especially DFS golf. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the Chunk and Run. We've got a really good kind of game theory question for the Chunk and Run at the end of the podcast tonight. So if you're interested in that, stick around. Pat, we've got a new golf tournament this week. We've got a new golf course in the Detroit Golf Club, which is a really old classic style Donald Ross design. I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be a pretty cool track. But before we get into that, we've talked about Fantasy Draft for a couple of years now. We've worked with Fantasy Draft for at least 2 or 3 years. And they're always good to us, good guys. We do a weekly Roto Grinders video on YouTube about Fantasy Draft, and they are about to change the DFS game. And you people are going to need to know about it. And we're going to tease it tonight, but next week there'll be more detail. Basically, they want to bring you an important message about Rake. All right? Are you tired of paying high fees to play daily fantasy, Pat?
Yes.
Did you know that over time, these fees called Rake, not Rakes, Rake, can cost daily fantasy players over 30% of their bankroll?
What? No.
Yeah, as daily fantasy sites continue to raise the rake, prize pools are being squeezed more and more, making it harder for players like you especially to win. Did you know that?
I can't win anyway, but anyway.
Yeah, more rake just means more money lining the pockets of the big sites and less money for you, the player. But change is coming starting in July.
Change is coming. It's like Game of Thrones. Winter is coming, but you know
Winter
what?
is coming.
Change is coming.
Change is coming. FantasyDraft.com is changing the game. They are bringing you rake-free daily fantasy.
That's not possible.
Throw your rakes away. Throw them out. Forget it. All right? That's right. Soon you'll be able to play your favorite contest without paying any rake to the house. On Fantasy Draft, 100% of entry fees will be paid out to contest winners 100% of the time. Playing your favorite contest rake-free on Fantasy Draft will save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars in rake every single month instead of lining the pockets of everyone else. Every dollar will be paid to contest winners. Imagine what playing on Fantasy Draft is going to do for your bankroll. You can register at fantasydraft.com today and be the first to know when the rake-free revolution begins. Use promo code Tour Junkies. That's promo code Tour Junkies. All right? When you go to fantasydraft.com, sign up and get ready for the rake-free announcement that's coming next week. And I got to tell you something, people. This is not a temporary thing. This is not a promo. This is not a here today, gone tomorrow. This is legitimately, they're about to change the way that rake goes down on DFS sites. It's very interesting. They have some golf offerings over there as well. Obviously NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball, whatever. So you want to check that out. FantasyDraft.com/Tour Junkies. Tour Junkies. All right, Pat, you ready?
Hang on, I'm texting my wife to tell my kids to stop watching the show.
It's a new course. I'm excited, man. Have you done enough research to really dive into Detroit Golf Club for the people?
Yeah, I have.
All right, give it to us.
Enough of what we need. So yeah, you did mention this is so we're at Detroit Golf Club. By the way, there are 2 courses here. There's the North and the South course. They're playing 17 holes from the North course, and
Amen.
one of the holes is from the South course.
Amen.
But it is a par 72, just over 7,300 yards. Not particularly long by tour standards, but it's up there a little bit. They did kind of back up a few tees to get this course ready for a tour event. It is a Donald Ross design, as you mentioned. I love Donald Ross courses, just classic tree-lined fairways.
Classic short courses where you got 130-yard par 3s. That's what you want.
Love those.
From the members' tees, yeah.
Yeah. Greens here at Poana, they do have some bent mixed in there. By the way, when are we going to get a course where it just has one particular green? Like, is it Poana or is it bent? Whatever. Like, it's got Poana mixed with some bent. Like, this drives me crazy when this is what.
So I found a really good YouTube video actually today about Detroit Golf Club. It was very interesting, and the course superintendent said it is primarily POA and maximum 15 to 20% is bent grass. So it is primarily POA.
Yes, which is what I just said, right?
Yeah, I'm just telling you the percentage, and I'm verifying your information.
Okay, I appreciate you.
It is hot
Yeah.
as daylights where I'm at right now. I'm on the
Yeah.
golf course, by the way. Can you see it?
Yeah. What course is that?
I don't know.
Make it up right
I
now.
think it's the internet course.
Okay. Looks good.
It's Junkie
Um,
Junction. Junkie Junction.
yeah. All right. Anyway, is it a Golden Tee course?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, all right. So, and I think these greens are going to run pretty quick. They typically do on Donald Ross courses. You got a lot of contours on the greens, a lot of runoff. He likes to have his greens pretty raised and with some quick runoff. So I think for that, I am going to be looking at some scrambling because these greens, they're not necessarily tough to hit. But if you do miss them, you're going to have to be a pretty good scrambler to do well here. You got 4 par 5s. 3 of them are going to be scoreable, so I'm definitely going to be looking at par 5 scoring this week. I do think this course is going to be played pretty easy. I think even though it's the first time for these guys, I think they're going to get it pretty quickly. I think you're going to see a lot of scoring here, so I am going to look at opportunities gained, which is a big stat for us when it looks at opportunities to score. I mentioned scrambling. I'm going to look at the strokes gained approach and off the tee, and of course form. We have zero history here with this being a new tournament and a new course, which I love. I think that's great for DFS players actually that have a little bit of an edge. I think this is a week where you need to listen to the podcasts out there like us. You need to use your tools like Fantasy National, and I think you're going to get a huge edge over most of the players because it's a new course. I like that. I'm a big fan of that. David, are you still there?
Yes, I agree. I think it was a great course breakdown. You got 156 players in this field, only top 70 and ties making the cut. They've had a lot of rain here. I do know that. Rough is projected to be around 3.5 inches starting today, and they're just going to let it grow. Let it grow and let it grow and let it show. So that should be interesting. I'm putting a little emphasis on a fairway, which has been refreshing these last couple weeks. Last week you had
I don't
Hamilton.
know. I feel like I feel like I've read enough that these fairways are pretty generous.
Yeah, but it's still not super long. Like, it's 7,300 yards stretched out. It's not going to play that every single day. A lot of that distance is not on the par 4s, which I think is really where it can eat up some of the shorter hitters. I don't know. I kind of think this is another wide open event, similar to last week, similar to Hamilton when we played the Canadian Open. I like courses like this. I think it opens up everybody in the field. Another interesting thing is out of the top 8 that finish here this week, 2 of the top 8 are going to get an Open Championship invitation if they've not already qualified. So you've got some Open Championship, points in quote marks to be earned here for these guys. So there's some stuff at stake, and it's not a super deep field. So I think it's a good opportunity for some of these boys to take it low and get them a good week, get them a good win. You know what I mean? But I'm with you. I like strokes gained approach, opportunities gained. I looked at fairways gained over on Fantasy National. What else? I looked at strokes gained putting on POA. Some more game theory stuff. I think we've said this before, but if I'm looking at putting stats, I like to look at the long term. Forget looking at 12 rounds, 24 rounds. I like to look at long term. So I looked at POA putting for the last 100 rounds to find the guys who are truly proven to be comfortable on POA surfaces. But all in all, this is a hit the fairway and then hit the right level of these very undulating, as Pat mentioned, Donald Ross greens that are also rolling, like Pat mentioned, very quick. These things are looking to be pretty quick. That same video that I mentioned, the superintendent talked about running them at a 12 to 12.5 and really getting them going. And a lot of them slope back to front. I just think you got to be dialed in with the irons here, man, for sure. I think that's the biggest thing. So it's another ball strikers course. Ho-hum. It's what we see every week.
Ches is going back to back.
Ches might go back to back. So, with a lot of people being in play here, we'll see what that does in terms of DFS to ownership. But of course, the ownership site to give you all the information you need is fansharesports.com. We worked with them forever and actually looked at them a good bit last week and saw some Ches ownership. We've got somebody out on YouTube Geo asking if we had any Ches ownership, and yes, we did. And it's because I saw him at like 11% on fansharesports.com in the projections last week. So Geo, by the way, won $25K last week. Congratulations to you, man. That's killer. Good stuff. But fansharesports.com is they curate all the content. They listen to everything. They read all the articles, and they tell you who everybody's talking up for PGA Tour DFS. They do the same thing for the NFL when that rolls around. And you can join right now, 20% off your membership, whether you choose weekly, monthly, or annually. You can join and get that 20% off discount with promo code Tour Junkies anytime. Go to fansharesports.com. Promo code Tour Junkies. They're the best. Really cool dudes over there. And just try it. If you don't like it, like DM us. If you try it for a week or two and you don't like it, DM us and we'll get you a refund. Like, it's just that good. It's just really, really good. If you try it for like a week or a month and you don't like it, we'll get you a refund. It's that good. If you want to play in GPPs on any fantasy site, DFS site, you have to have them. That's it. All right, buddy. You ready to get into the picks?
Yes, I am ready to go.
I got to be honest. In the 9K and above, picking 3 GPP plays, I really only wanted to pick 2. So I've thrown in a third just because I feel like I have to. But I don't like how not deep this field is. Therefore, I don't see myself having a lot of guys in this range. So I'm going with Hideki, as you do. I would go with Hideki up at the top. I don't need to go through all the stats that Hideki checks, but he checks all of them. And he's in incredible form. He has made 23 consecutive cuts on the PGA Tour. 23. Elite ball striker, elite iron player, $10,200. That's as high as I'm going. Not going any higher. I'm dang sure not paying $12,000 for DJ. Yeah, to pay $12,000 in a field this terrible for DJ is crazy. I do think he's going to be low owned. He might be 10%. You might be texting us, DMing us on Wednesday night, going, "Boys, do I play DJ? Fanshare's got him projected at 10%. What do I do?" Hey man, if you want to play DJ at 10%, be my guest. But at $12,000, he better win or lose in a playoff at $12,000, if you ask me. So I'm going Hideki. I'm going Ryan Moore. I'm going to pivot off a little Ches, although I don't mind Ches. But I like Ryan Moore here. I like the accuracy off the tee. He's incredibly good and accurate off the tee. Great iron player. Checks the box in all those. Top 10 in every off the tee and iron play category here when you look recently. Just a good player. Not terrible on POA. Not great, but not terrible. So at 9,500, I think Ryan Moore is my move. And then the last guy I picked is just because I had to have a third one. I'm going to go with Kisner. I actually ended up with a little bit of Kis last week. For the Travelers, he played well. His form has been spotty. I don't know what's going on, like if he just mentally checked out or whatever, but we know Kis hits fairways, and I think that's a premium here. So if he can dial in the irons a little bit, I think that would be good. He's actually not a bad putter on POA. We know Kis prefers Bermuda, but he's such a good putter. He's still 19th in the field over the last 100 rounds in strokes gained POA. So relative to the field, he's not that bad. He prefers Bermuda, but he's not that bad. Strokes gained putting on POA. My bad. If I got to go with 3 here, I'm going Kis. But my favorite 2 are Hideki and Ryan Moore. I think Ryan Moore is where you start a cash lineup. I definitely don't play Hideki in cash. I just don't go that high. Again, this is going to be a very balanced approach for me this week. I'm not going real heavy studs and duds in cash or GPPs. So Ryan Moore for cash is my play, and I'll hold my fade and see if you mentioned him. Who you got?
Wow. Okay. So this is interesting because my fade, I'll go ahead and throw it out there. You've already mentioned it as DJ. Maybe that's kind of a cop out, but it's just
that is a total cop out fade if I've ever heard of one.
Well, sorry.
Hard hitting information here at the Tour Junkies, folks.
Yep.
Hard hitting information.
I had to zero in on a guy, and that's what I came up with. It was pretty easy, if you can imagine. Totally with you on Hideki, though. He is one of my GPP plays. The guy just checks everything. I knew you were going to play him, and you and I typically don't talk about our plays leading up into every single show. You can be very distracting with this whole YouTube thing. Like, just stop making hand motions and stuff like that.
I'm sorry.
If you're not... Okay, anyway. So totally with you on Hideki.
Of course you are. Why wouldn't you be?
And I'm on Kiz. I mentioned Kiz last week in the show. I was big on Kiz. I just thought, even though he didn't have a great U.S. Open, I feel like it was a good course for him. And I think this is another week where he can play well. I just feel like, too, when you get a new course, he's the type player that just a gritty type guy that's going to do well on a new course that they've never seen before. His caddy, Dwayne Bach, is obviously always prepared. So I like some Kiz this week at 9,100. I think that's a good play. By the way, Hideki, I will say this. You mentioned driving accuracy. He's not very good there. That's the only thing that concerns me. He's ranked 76 in the field. Actually, none of those guys over 10K are very good in driving accuracy. But I don't know if it matters that much for them.
To me, it doesn't matter with Hideki. I even think there's going to be a lot of lesson drivers here. I mean, it remains to be seen. Anybody who tells you they got it all figured out, I don't think they got it all figured out. First time seeing this golf course. I don't care what the scorecard says and the yardage book says, but I watched a flyover and some pretty detailed information on this course today. I think some of the big hitters are going to be clubbing down a little bit.
Yeah, I think you could be right. The other guy I will play, though, and actually I am going to go a little bit above Hideki, and I feel like this is going to be your fade. But I'm going to go with Ricky Fowler. I know we always get this talk about, if you're part of the title sponsor and whatever else, that you might fade the guy. But I just think that Ricky Fowler's got too good of a game right now. You look at all the stats. Off the tee, he's ranked in the top 20. Approach, he's top 20. Scrambling, top 25. Opportunities gained, top 20. The only stat where he really doesn't stand out is driving accuracy, where he's 53rd in the field. But I don't know. It's still better than any of the other guys here. And I don't know. I will say I'm going to look at his ownership on FanShare come Wednesday, because I wonder if a lot of the DJ folks that might come off of DJ are going to go to Ricky. But I do like Ricky and GPP, so I will play him there. As far as cash is concerned, I actually like Kiz in cash. I think Kiz is a good cash play. He's at 9,100.
I'm okay
I like
with that
price. Allows you to fit in a lot of solid players here. So I like Kiz as a cash play this week as well.
All right, so my fade is not Ricky. It's hard for me to fade Ricky, man. Like, I love that dude. I just do. I wish he'd win a major. I hope he wins Royal Portrush in a couple weeks.
Oh, I
like the guy. Even his mullet hair and all that. My fade is Brandt Snedeker. I don't understand the Brandt Snedeker love.
Oh gosh, I'm so with you on that. I want to go down from D. All right, I'll throw out DJ. I'm gonna go jump on the fade Sned, because I don't get that at all.
I don't get it. I would rather play. I mean, of the people priced, obviously I'd rather play anybody above him. I'd rather play Ches. I'd rather play Ryan Moore. I'd rather play Kisner. I know I'd rather play at least one guy I'm about to mention here in the 8K range. I think it's overpriced. He makes all of his strokes on the putting surfaces, and he is really good on POA. But the accuracy off the tee, the fairway finding, and I'm looking recently, is not good. And even, it's just I don't buy the Brandt Snedeker price. I think that's an easy fade.
He was so terrible at the U.S. Open, too. And
he was. And he got really lucky. He chipped in a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, 8K range, 8K and above, 2 GPP plays, a cash lock, and a fade. So there's one guy in here that as soon as I saw him, I was like 100%, and that is Kevin Streelman. To me, like Streelman, you kind of ride when Streels is hot. You ride Streelman. You ride him till he's done, and he is checking a lot of ball striking boxes. Just in the last 12 rounds, okay, just in the last 12 rounds, 6th in strokes gained approach, 9th in greens and regulation, 8th in fairways gained, and 7th in DraftKings points scored. So he's not just like a short knocker who plods his way around the golf course and hits a fairway, hits a green, makes a 2-putt, pars. Hi, I'm Bill Haas. See you later. Like, he's scoring points. He's making you birdies. So in DFS, he's relevant. I just think this is an interesting spot for him. If you buy into my feeling that this is a course where accuracy type players like Shez last week can win, I think Streelman is one of those guys. He's also 45-1 on mybookie.ag, and that's a bet that I've already made for this week, an outright bet. 45-1 for Streelman is where I'm going to start my betting card here for this week. That's as short as I'm getting. So I love Streelman here. I did have to make a decision in the lower part of this range to pick a second player. I'm going to go with a guy who I think is going to be a little overlooked because he doesn't really maybe people agree with me here on the shorter player thing, but I'm going to go with Aaron Wise, who's a bomber, but he's very comfortable on POA. He played great at the U.S. Open last time we saw him. He's 16th in opportunities gained, 22nd in greens in regulation. He scores points. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna hope that Aaron Wise, coming off the good play at the U.S. Open. Now he had a tough weekend, but he had a good week, and I think class of the field, Aaron Wise is kind of a value and maybe overlooked. But I did have a tough decision between him and one other player that I'm wondering if you're going to mention. So I'll save that. I'll say my cash play is also Kevin Streelman. I think Streelman is a lock in cash. Start your cash lineups with Ryan Moore, Kevin Streelman. I think you're looking good.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'll go ahead and get Streelman out of the way. I had him as my cash play and as well. Actually, no, I did not have him as a GPP play. I had him as a cash play.
Yeah,
so
but
I'm with
whatever.
You there.
You play him wherever you
whatever.
want.
You can play him. I just wanted to add another name in here, so that's why I put him right there. But I'm going to start off at the top here with Joaquin Niemann.
Joaquin, the guy Pat can't pronounce right.
I love saying that. I
hope we meet Joaquin one day and you get to say his name all the many ways that you've said it.
I'm going to say it so many different ways. I can't wait to interview him. Anyway, so, yeah, I like him this week. I mean, the guy's just been very solid. He had a top 5 finish last week.
He's been good lately.
I wrote him up in the Fantasy Golf Sommelier article last week as sort of
he was your pop the cork and let him breathe play of the week, which
that is correct.
If people are not reading,
who that is?
Huh?
You want to tell folks who that is?
Yes. So if you're not familiar with a little website called tourjunkies.com, everything we do is in front of the paywall, people. There is no such thing as the paywall. We have torn down the paywall. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. We've done that, right? There is no paywall. Everything is free. And Pat writes, when he feels like it, an article called the Fantasy Golf Sommelier. We all know his love for wine. And so he talks about wines, and he talks about golfers that he likes and doesn't like, values and top shelf picks. And last week he does a pick every week called this is a very good name. I got to tell you guys, Pat doesn't have a whole lot of creative
I came up with this one
thoughts,
myself.
But he came up with this one himself, and I was kind of impressed. It's called the Pop the Cork and Let It Breathe Pick of the Week, right? And that is the guy who Pat doesn't really feel or doesn't mention in the podcast, but by Wednesday, when he's writing the article, he's kind of come around on. And last week, it was, as he says it, Joaquin Niemann, which was, if you read it, was a good pick. Now, last week's article was pretty good. You missed Charlie Hoffman, but so did a lot of people. But other than that, it was a pretty good week. You faded Phil. That was a good decision. That was your Boone's Farm play of the week. So listen, go to tourjunkies.com, read the articles. They're great articles, but the Fantasy Golf Sommelier article is laugh out loud funny, says somebody at New York Times. Laugh out loud funny. Highly educational, says Vineyard Magazine. Mm-hmm. And sneaky good picks, says Golf Digest. So I think you guys should check it out.
All true. I'm fairly certain.
Yeah.
So anyway,
right.
I do like Niemann this week. Coming off that top 5 finish last week. But then, I mean, you look at the stats, too. I mean, the guy just across the board, I mean, he's checking the box off the tee, strokes gained approach, opportunities gained. He's a solid player. And early in the year, I was big on this guy. And you know it. It was kind of like we talked about Cameron Champ versus Niemann. And I was bigger on Niemann as having a huge year. You were actually bigger on Cameron Champ.
I don't know if I remember that.
If you remember correctly.
I don't know if I...
Niemann kind of got out of the gates a little bit slow, but I think his game's coming around a little bit, so I like him at 8,900. Obviously, that price is inflated because this is a pretty crappy field, but I'm still okay with playing him at that price. And then I'm going to drop all the way down to Kevin Tway at 8,100. He was another guy that I kind of came on to last week, sort of later in the week. As a matter of fact, he was close to being the pop the cork on him and let him breathe play of the week. He also finished T5 with Niemann and has been pretty solid. He's made 4 straight cuts, had a top 20 at Colonial just a few weeks ago before the U.S. Open. obviously he is a bomber for the most part, but he's and he's not very accurate off the tee. But checks the box on par 5 scoring, opportunities gained, also and strokes gained approach and scrambling as well. So I like some Kevin Tway at 8,100. I think this was a tough kind of group for me because Victor Hovland's in here at 8,400. Not a big fan of playing him there. You got the old Sung J M, just the Iron Man of the tour.
Who's your
My
fade?
It's going to be Bubba this week. Just I don't know. I can't. Bubba just isn't very good.
I don't think this place is great for Bubba.
No.
Tree line,
yeah.
possibly heavy rough, not as long. Nah. My fade's Victor Hovland. I mean, we talked about him in the intro, or kind of in the recap. I do like the strokes gained off the tee prowess that he shows, but at that price, I just don't think you play these guys in the 8K range, or the high 7s. Honestly, I think we still wait and see. People want to play Hovland. I'm not for it. It is a weaker field. I get it. It's a weaker field than last week. And he made the cut last week and he did okay, but I'm still not for it at that price tag. I don't think it makes sense at 8,400 on DraftKings. So sorry to the Victor Hovland folks. In fact, you may notice a theme with some of my fades in their college, the college they attended. You may notice that. All right, Pat, let's get to the 7K range. 7K range. We're going to give you 3 GPP plays, a cash play, and dos fades, which is Spanish for 2. Pat, why don't you start us off in the 7K? Who are your 3 tournament plays in DFS? And any of these guys you're willing to bet outright maybe as well.
Well, you know what? I'm going back to the well here. Even though he's coming off of 2 missed cuts, I saw him show some flashes in his Friday round last week, and I know everybody was on him, and everybody's going to jump off of him, and that's Charlie Hoffman.
Hey-o!
I'm going to play him this week. I don't care what he did to me last week. He stabbed me in the heart, and he took that knife and he ripped it all the way, like just all through my insides. Screwed up some of my best lineups, but I'm going back to him this week. I just can't quit him. Checks the box in off the tee, also in approach and in opportunities gained. And Charlie Hoffman I feel like, again, this is a good course for him. He showed me, at least on Friday, that he could freaking score. And I don't think his game is that far off. So I'm going to play Hoffman. I'm definitely going to get him at lower ownership, I know, for sure this week. And then just below him, another guy who has been a little bit he hasn't really played great lately, missing two cuts after a top 10, actually a 6th place finish at the PGA Championship at Bethpage. That is Luke List. It's 7,700.
Interesting.
I'm liking some Luke this week. I think he's going to be loaned. Definitely, he always checks the box off the tee. We know that. Also in par 5 scoring, he's top 10 in the field. I think Luke List could have a good week here on this course, so I do like him in tournaments, and I know I'm going to get him lower owned than he typically is too. A lot of people like to play him, but coming off those 2 missed cuts, you'll notice the theme here. If I'm not going to get to worry about course history this week, then I may just throw out some recent form too, but anyway. So, and then my cash play and GPP is going to be Nick Watney at 7,600. Another guy just checking all kinds of boxes. He's 37th in the field in approach, 14th in opportunities gained. He's top 20 in the field in par 5 scoring. Checks the box in scrambling. Has been in really good recent form. With out of his last 4 events, he's 3 of 4 as far as making the cuts, with nothing worse than a T30, which was last week. But it had a T22 at Memorial and then a top 10 before that at the Charles Schwab. I like Nick Watney at 7,600 as well, and I think he'll be a good cash play. This is a tough range, by the way. There's a lot of guys in here. It's so mixed. Like, you're not going to find a ton of guys that are going to be across the board. They're checking the box in stats and recent form. I think that's why you got to kind of go out there a little bit, take a little bit of risk in this range, which is why I'm going back to the well on a guy like Hoffman, who just burned everybody last week, and a guy like Luke List in this range who's missed 2 straight cuts. So I do think this is the gamble range. This is the range where you got to take a little bit of a gamble and maybe just see what happens. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think I want to camp out on that theory too because it is a weak field. So you feel like you're maybe overpaying for a few guys, and this is both on the betting market or in DFS. But then you get guys down here who are PGA Tour winners, who are decent players, mixed in with other guys who kind of aren't. It is an interesting range. You know, we base our prices off of DraftKings. It's easy. It's an easy flow. But even when you look at the Vegas odds, it's still an interesting range. I actually wrote down a lot of the players that you mentioned. Charlie Hoffman is at 60-1 on my bookie. Nick Watney is at 70-1, and Luke List is at 75-1. Those are all names I had already written down as bets that I want to make outright. Because those are three guys who, I mean, Watney and Hoffman are PGA Tour winners. Luke List is yet to win, but he's knocked on the door. And in a weak field like this, even though the form isn't fantastic, you're right, we don't have history to go off of. You just kind of have, you know, I think it's interesting to play the names here. In terms of DFS, I think you can really play anybody you want in this 7K range. I think there's not a clear cut. To me, there's not a clear-cut value in this 7K range that there's going to be somebody who's uber chalk in tournaments. If you're playing tournaments on DFS, there is no one in here that is going to be super chalk that I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's not. You can check fan share, but I would highly doubt there's anybody in here who's going to be over 15%. Come.
I think if there's anyone, it's going to be Ben On, who, by the way, is one of my faves.
Really? See,
because Ben On, he's been up there. Everybody's been playing him a lot lately. You know, he's definitely going to check boxes when it comes to stats and things like that. But
he doesn't. He actually doesn't. Because I looked at On. I mean, here's his stat line right now. Over the last 12 rounds. Okay, I went 12 rounds. 100th in opportunities gained. 102nd in strokes gained approach. Both of those stats reflect iron play. Not good in the last 12 rounds. In fairways gained, he's 100th. Not accurate, okay? That's both in the short term and the long term he sucks. In strokes gained putting over the last 100 rounds on POA, he's 147th. He literally checks no boxes. If you look very recent history.
I gotta challenge you here because when I look at last 24 rounds, he's literally, when I rank all my players based off of stats, he is 5th. He's 24th off the tee, 10th in approach, 2nd in scrambling, 13th in opportunities gained, and 28th in par 5 scoring. Top 30 in all of those.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a glitch. I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, I see last week he lost strokes with the irons. He lost a ton of strokes on the putting green, which is typical for him. The week before, I mean, he finished 16th at the U.S. Open, but he scrambled his dick off.
That's the thing.
He made five. He gained 5.5 strokes scrambling, so he's missing greens and scrambling. And he did the same thing at the Memorial the week before.
Yeah, that's the reason. When I'm looking at all of this, I mean, I think he's gonna show up in the stats. But
the ball striking isn't good though.
Yeah, I do think he'll be at least plus 10% of it.
Okay, I don't think he reaches 15 though. So in other words, like for DFS for tournaments, I don't think you're getting anybody who's like uber chalk here. So play anybody you want. Like, don't sweat. If you're playing tournaments, don't sweat the ownership in the 7K. That's my guess right now on a Monday night. I don't think you sweat it. So if you want to play chalk above that, differentiate yourself here in the 7K range, I think you can do that. But I actually, for the sake of being a little different, I like Hoffman and Watney here. Those guys will probably end up in my player pool. I don't know that I'm going to play Luke List in DFS. I'm not liking the history for sure, but he does play well on shorter courses, even though he hits it longer. I may put a bet on him though at 75-1. I think that's a good bet, maybe a good number. But in terms of DFS for GPPs, I'm gonna go with two guys. Let me cue it up here. Nope, that's not it. All right, I'm gonna go. You made me get off of. You made me go to Byung Hun An. All right, I'm gonna go Sung Kang. Who I hate. He's an effing cheater. Okay, he's just a cheater. But
going with the cheater.
He's making cuts. His iron play is exceptional. He's fairly long off the tee when he needs to be. He may club down a little bit, but he makes a lot of birdies and eagles. He's 8th in this field in DraftKings points scored over the last 12 rounds, but his putting splits are ridiculous. This boy, Sung Kang, love him some POA, okay? You put Sung Kang on some POA, he's a happy boy. It's a good thing. It's like a fat kid love cake, like 50 Cent said. Sung Kang on POA is a good thing. So he likes him some POA, and I like him at 7,600. I like the upside. So I'll go Sung Kang, and then I'll also go same price, a guy who I ended up having a good bit of last week. I know I wasn't on the podcast to talk him up, but I think I told you I had some of him. Vaughn Taylor, the Augusta boy. Vaughn Taylor's golfing his ball right now, man. His irons are on point. He's checking the box in irons. He's checking the box in fairways gained. He's checking the box in DraftKings points scored over the last 12 rounds. I mean, coming off a great finish here, a 4th place finish at the Travelers, where he gained 6 strokes on his approach play and 4 strokes putting. I mean, that's a lot of strokes putting, but 6 strokes on your approach play is pretty freaking good with your iron. So I'm gonna ride Vaughn Taylor while he's hot, and I like that number, or I like that value at $7,600.
Is Vaughn Taylor like the least viewed player on tour who actually is just on tour every single year and never loses his card? Like, I don't feel like that guy.
When you pick Vaughn Taylor,
he's probably got like maybe 20 minutes of total TV time in his entire career.
No, because when he won at Pebble, they had him all over the place.
Sorry, I forgot.
I mean,
about that. Yeah.
Vaughn is like if you were picking. Vaughn is like, I'm trying to think, like, I'm trying to relate this to like actresses. If you were making a list of like the hottest actresses, where would Vaughn fall on the actress hot spectrum? Like,
well, he'd be consistent. He'd have consistent jobs, so he